Hello and welcome to this week's weekly energy forecast, week commencing the 3rd of February 2025. So this is a very, very energizing week, I would say, actually. So it's quite interesting. So we had Imbolc on the 1st, I think it's over the 1st and 2nd of February, and Imbolc is the halfway point between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. Now, even though we are still in the depths of winter, Imbolc is all about stirring up inspiration. It's when the first shoots begin to show, and even though the energy is still spiraling inwards and focused on deep rest and nourishment and replenishment, it is still a time where things start to move. We start to notice that the light is ever so slightly shifting in the opposite direction. So Imbolc is a very, very significant turning point in the year. And it's a great time to set intentions over Imbolc. It's a great time to plant seeds. And it's almost like the waxing crescent phase of the year. So the winter solstice is the darkest point of the year, and that's like the new moon phase. So that's where we set intentions, we go very, very still and quiet, and then we kind of just let it go. So then the time from the winter solstice up to Imbolc is all about nothing, absolutely nothing, rest, replenishment. And that's often where our New Year's resolutions come in, and then people tend to fall down, particularly after the first month of January. So this is an interesting time where actually now is where the energy is starting to shift. Stagnation might be starting to move, but it still isn't time to jump into action just yet, even though this week might feel that way. We have quite a lot of dynamic astrology. We've got a lot of air energy this week, which brings speed, which brings quickness, which can bring like levity to an extent. Like Earth is heavy and dense, and not necessarily in a bad way, although it can be when it's out of balance. But air energy is light and quick and like curious. So there's a definite stirring this week. I would really encourage you to listen to that, but also massively pay attention to the fact that it is still winter, that stillness is still absolutely vital at this time, and don't overlook that, because this is where we can kind of like push off the starting blocks too soon and then end up falling flat by the time the springtime comes, or not very long into the spring, because we've kind of got going before we've really built up the energy to then actually give us momentum to keep us moving forward. It's like when you pull an arrow back in a quiver, if you only pull it back like halfway and let go, then it's not going to actually be able to travel the distance it needs to. Whereas if you take the time to pull it right back, then set your aim and then release, it's going to go a lot further and take you where you want to be going. So really important to be considerate of this week. However, there's some really nice, juicy, inspirational energy that's happening, closing the week with a little bit of a bang, which we'll get to in a minute with some astrology details. And we're also in a first quarter moon phase this week as well. So from the new moon, the energy starts building to the first quarter moon phase. So that's really where energy, again, is like the first quarter moon is all about action. The new moon is where we plant the seeds. The waxing crescent is where energy starts to stir and things start to get going. And then the full quarter moon, we're in full swing. We are like going hell for leather at the things that we want to be taking action on. So again, very contrasting to the time of year, and something just to be aware of, because with that stirring of Imbolc, where we still need to be resting and nourishing, we could very easily, I guess, miss the nuances of what the energy is trying to bring. Yes, it's time to take action, but it's time to take action through the lens of winter. So it's okay to be out there and doing stuff, but just making sure that you are getting the time to have, you know, a slow walk, a quiet cup of tea with no stimulation, a 10-minute meditation. Just make sure those moments of replenishment and nourishment are still there. Or even, you know, in a phase of action, when we're taking action, but it's a time where like through the winter, maybe we're just being active in the process of self-care, in the process of, you know, really building that strong foundation and nourishing that foundation, so we can then leap forward when the springtime comes. So yes, I think that's all I really wanted to touch on in terms of the overview of the week. So let's get into the astrology. So on Monday the 3rd, which is today, we have a really nice trine from from Mercury to Jupiter. So Jupiter is in Gemini, it's in Mercury's sign, Mercury is in Aquarius, and it's trining Jupiter. So trines in astrology are the most beneficial aspect you could have in astrology. And Jupiter on the 4th of February, then the next day, stations retrograde. So Mercury moves through the zodiac in roughly less than a year. So it making trines to Jupiter is roughly going to happen 3 times a year. It's not that much of a big deal, but it is a big deal this time because Jupiter is stationing retrograde, trining Mercury in Mercury's sign. So this is significant. This is a great time that Jupiter expands wherever it is. Jupiter brings luck, growth, optimism, abundance. Mercury is the planet of communication. It's the planet of the mind, ideas, how we form ideas and how we express those out into the world. So this is an absolutely fantastic day for communication, for announcements, because Jupiter expands things. So it's a great time to announce something that you're doing. It's a great time to have a conversation. It could be a great day for inspiration. Again, we've got this lovely like Imbolc energy still, kind of like the aftermath of that, having it only been a couple of days ago. And then we've got this like Jupiter, this Jupiter Mercury trine, which is very inspirational. It can, like, Gemini energy is small scale communications. Aquarius energy is about humanitarianism as well. So it could be, you know, big ideas. It could be involving yourself in a project of something that matters to you. Like anything that you take, any actions you take around those themes today are supported. And the sun just shines a light on this as well. So the sun is still in a it's the sun as Jupiter stations retrograde, it's coming off the back of that trine with Mercury, and it's headed towards a trine with the sun. So there's still a very, very nice supportive energy, not only with Jupiter expanding like potential around communication, announcements, bringing good fortune in those areas, but also we're getting some support from the sun as well, which shines a light. It makes things brighter, bolder, bigger. So again, if you're announcing anything, today is a great day, do it. If you're thinking about waiting till later in the week, don't wait, do it. Like there's lots and lots of support here. It could be a great day for writing, for social media posts, all of those things. And then also on the 4th of February, Tuesday, the 4th of February, Venus is leaving Pisces, the sign of his exaltation, and moving into Aries. And this is really where the pre-retrograde shadow kind of kicks in even more. So Venus is moving from soft, sweet, compassionate Pisces into hot and fiery Aries. And Aries energy is big, it's bold, it's independent. And Venus is actually in its detriment in Aries because Venus is the planet of relationships. It's all about like how you relate to the other, and Aries is the sign of independence. It's masculine, it's yang, it's about forward moving, it's about putting your head down, not thinking about it, and just carrying on. So Aries and Venus are the kind of like contrasting energy. So when Venus is in Aries, it operates a little bit differently. And this is a very, very interesting period of time because we're headed towards a Venus retrograde. So Venus is going to station retrograde on the 1st of March 2025. But Venus is already in the territory that it's then going to move backwards over. So retrogrades are where planets move forward in the sky, and then they'll get to a point where they appear to be moving backwards based on how they orbit around the sun and based on our perspective on Earth. So they appear to be moving backwards. They move backwards over a part of the zodiac that they've already passed over. Then they appear to station still, and then they move forwards again. So when we have a retrograde, the planet moves over the same degrees of the zodiac 3 times. So we're in the pre-retrograde shadow now. This is the first pass. Then it's going to retrograde over from the 1st of March to like the end of April, I think. I can't quite remember now. And then it's going to station, something like that. And then it's going to station, and then it's going to move back forward over that territory that it's already passed over twice. So Venus retrogrades happen in the same signs every 8 years. So Venus only ever goes retrograde in the same, I think it's 5 signs. And we'll have like one every other year pretty much. So every 8 years, it will go retrograde in the same sign. So when we have Venus retrogrades, it's really important to start thinking back to 2017. So 8 years before, what themes came up in your life? What things are important? what things felt notable at the time. This is where your birth chart becomes really, really important, because you can look at where this is falling in your chart and understand what themes were coming up at that time, or the fact that things that came up at that time were actually significant when maybe you didn't realize they were, but maybe with hindsight you can see that. So it's a great time to reflect back to 2017, especially the springtime of 2017, understand what was happening in your life and what the journey has been in that area of life since then, and what new phase are you stepping into now. So this shift into Aries could really bring to the surface these retrograde themes. So it's really important to pay attention, particularly if you were born under this Venus retrograde. So if you were born around March and April of like in 8-year increments back from now. So I was born in 93, so I was born under this specific Venus retrograde. So if you were born around that time, then this will be even more significant for you if you have Venus retrograde natally and it's in Aries. So one to check out for your chart. If you don't know how to find that or understand that, please send me a message on Instagram and I can help you go a bit deeper and understand that. So moving on then. So on Thursday, so actually just circling back to that. So Venus entering Aries is a shift in tone. We've gone from a very, very soft and gentle period of time to a very hot and fiery period of time. It's bringing a little bit of energy, it's bringing action. And again, that's also part of the shift that we're experiencing this week, where things are stirring and wanting to move forward. But again, we're still underlying with that winter energy. So really important to listen and pay attention to all of the energies, not just a little part that you're feeling. Okay, so Thursday the 6th of February, we have a pretty interesting transit. We have the North Node and Neptune conjunct in Pisces. So when planets are conjunct, it means they are on top of each other, essentially. They're at the same degree point of the zodiac. This creates a blending of their energies. So this is quite a rare transit, to be fair. This only happens once every 18 years. So it is actually something that is quite significant. Neptune is very dreamy, it's very creative, and the North Node is our future collective destiny. It's where we're headed, it's what we're being pushed to focus on at this specific time. So where the North Node is, that's where eclipses happen, and eclipses bring drastic change. They bring like sudden turning points, significant pivots in life. So the North Node takes about 18 months to transit through an area of your chart. So depending on what house that's falling in depends on what area of your life is being activated by that. So it kind of kicked off around 17th of September 2024, and then we became fully into this year. So we're being pushed to grow in an area of life. That's where the North Node transit is happening. Now Neptune coming over this transit, this is really, it's visionary, it's limitless, and it helps us to tap into our potential. Like there's no limits, just like Pisces as well. Pisces is the same in this way, and they're in the, then like Neptune is in Pisces at the moment, so it's like a doubling up of this energy. But because these signs are so dreamy, there is no limits to what it can dream. Therefore it can be a great time for like manifestation, for getting clear on things, for like tapping into potential, like I said earlier, actually. So this is kind of the point. It's like it helps us to break down the barriers of what we've seen to believe is possible, and to consider, like, to think outside the box in a sense, but in a very dreamy, creative, non-tangible way. So this isn't really a transit that is a good thing to like rest something like structured, like I want to come up with a solution to a problem and it's going to be this, but it's definitely a day to just surrender to what is. Great day for meditation, great day to, even if you know what house this is falling in your chart, you can have a little look. So mine is in the 3rd house, which is the house of siblings, communication, daily rituals, local area, neighborhood, things like that. So, you know, I know that sounds a little bit abstract, but it's a great, you know, yours could be happening in your 10th house of career, it could be happening in your 7th house of relationships. So this is a fantastic day to like sit and meditate on that area of life. Like, what are you being pushed towards? Or even, you know, do some art of like drawing how it is that you're feeling in that area, something around that. Some art therapy like could be really, really good use of this energy. Again, not a time to make a 5-year plan, but you may get some creative sparks of inspiration from this transit, which will push you in the direction that we're really being pushed towards, particularly as we head into eclipse season, which is coming up at the end of this month and then into the spring. So then moving on to Friday, the 17th of February, we have Venus in Aries sextiling Pluto in Aquarius, which is an interesting energy. It's quite a helpful transit because sextiles are another positive aspect in astrology. Trines are more supportive. Sextiles are like an acquaintance that's helping you out, but it's not your best friend. Trines like a best friend. So it's a really helpful transit. It kind of supercharges relationships. Like Pluto is power, Venus is relationships, and how we relate to one another. And Venus in Aries is like personal autonomy within relationships as well. Like that is really what it could bring. Like, actually, these are my needs in this situation, and being maybe a bit more assertive where maybe you might have been passive in the past. That could either be something that's really helpful to you, or it could potentially hinder depending on your personality type and how you show up in certain relationships. So definitely one to ponder and be mindful of. But this is being supercharged at this time. So this could be a really great time to kind of set some personal boundaries potentially, because you've got that power behind you, or have a difficult conversation where maybe you'd be nervous of not quite showing up for yourself and stepping into your personal power. For example, this could be like personal power in how you relate to people one-on-one or in social settings, because Venus is the social planet. I did hear another astrologer mention that this was like could also be like power to the people energy. So it could be a little bit like revolutionary, or like really creating change, which I found really interesting, and I really liked that. Okay, and then finally, ending the week with a little bit of a bang, we have on Sunday the 9th of February, we have the Sun conjunct Mercury at 21 degrees of Aquarius. So this is when the two planets come together in the same sign at the same degree point, and when any planet crosses the face of the Sun, this is what we call a cazimi, and this is where the energies blend together a little bit. So, and this specific transit is also squaring Uranus. So, you know, this could be a moment of absolute mental clarity, the Sun and Mercury coming together. The Sun shines a light, but sometimes it can overshine and kind of overshadow the planet that it's coming. So it can be a little bit overbearing sometimes. Mercury is the planet of communication, of the mind. So it can bring mental clarity. It can bring like sudden solutions. It's almost like a light bulb moment, particularly with Uranus involved as well, because Uranus is that kind of like lightning bolt energy that's like sudden change, transformation. Actually, transformation, revolution is probably a better word for Uranus. But it can be sudden change. It's like lightning bolt. It's quick. This is loud and energizing. The Sun energizes, Uranus energizes, but because it's in a square, it could be a little bit explosive, a little bit loud. So it could be, yes, there's a moment of clarity, but it also brings friction. But again, friction is always helpful. Friction is there to help us grow. So just know there's potential for that. However, with the Sun Mercury cazimi happening on the same day, it's not bad. Like it's not. It's like a blending of energy. It's like you will understand, like you will have mental clarity of how you want to move forward, even if there is friction. That friction will bring the mental clarity that you need to then take the next steps. So it's not a bad thing. It's probably going to help you come to a solution. So I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to touch on this week. For those of you who are on our membership over at Handpicked Live, we have got some really lovely journal prompts for you this week, which is exploring like in line with that really creative, inspirational Imbolc energy, and what we started exploring in the new moon coaching call last week, which is in the library if anyone wants to join us and check that out. We're going deeper with creating characters in order to kind of flesh yourselves out. So in our last experiment, something came up where we were kind of creating a new state of being, but a lot of people felt a little bit too far away from that person that they wanted to step into. So a lot of us together ended up creating characters that we wanted to experiment with, that we could embody, and we could just play around with, like, how would this person do this, and how would this person dress, and how would this person show up to this problem. And the journal prompts this week are all around addressing a certain area of life that you want to grow and expand, and then also coming up with a character of like a different perspective of how you would like to address this challenge, of what kind of quality you would like to bring to this situation. So really juicy, deep journaling exercise for you to go into. And then we also have for the recommended classes this week, we've got an absolutely gorgeous energy medicine session called Welcome to Imbolc, where we can really tap into the stirring inspirational energies that are happening under the surface right now, and also make the most of kind of shifting stagnation and preparing for that leap forward in the spring. So it's a brilliant practice to work with, really lovely session. We also have a short embodiment practice on embodying a character as well. So once you're clear on those journal prompts, and especially from the other stuff we discussed in the new moon coaching call last week, you can kind of take all that and then start to actually play and embody with that session that we've got available for you guys, which has just been made available today. So it's a fresh new practice. And then obviously just another recommended practice, which is deep rest and nourishment, which is a gentle movement and breathwork session just to support you in maintaining that foundation of deep nourishment and replenishment throughout this quite a dynamic and quick week that we've got coming up. So thank you everybody for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. I will be back same time next week with another update. If you have any questions, please reach out to me, and I will see you in the next video.